Welcome to the RPG Book Club. On today's episode, we overcome technical difficulties to put up an episode 2 weeks late.
I am the nerdy guardian who fights for virtual love and justice. I am Sailor Eli. And also, welcome to the RPG Book Club, I guess. The podcast where we play a little bit of a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I've already introduced myself. How about you two?
I am Sam Allman, coming at you live over the airwaves.
Woo!
And I am Michael Spiffle-Webben, and I'm about to get out of my seat for a second and turn off my heater. BRB.
So, last time on Sailor Moon, we beat the whole game.
Yes.
And realized that we were too good to get the actual good ending.
We got the quote-unquote good ending, but honestly, the bad ending was better.
Because someone had to make a sacrifice and learn from it instead of just going back to school.
Yeah, exactly. Like I had said, that was the ending that I got as a kid, and I really do think it was the more important one. I think it was the more valuable one.
Because, reading the manga right now, even in the manga, which is Sailor Moon in its truest, purest form, because there's limited panel space, is even worse about the, oh no, what do we do? Maybe I should just cast Moon Healing Escalation. Okay, I did. Okay, now I won. And now move on to the next story in the next 28 pages.
Yeah,
and it's like,
yeah.
And so it's like, nobody really has time for, an emotional, sacrifice crap at the end, except for every 10 chapters Sailor Moon and Mamoru will have one, and that's it. And
where are you in the manga?
I am just starting number 4. So
okay, it will improve in that regard as you get through more of them.
Yeah, it's the end of 3 already had improved in that regard, but basically it was okay, well, we have to meet a Sailor Scout every single issue, but also our manga magazine only lets us have 5 pages, so good luck.
Yeah, pretty much.
I have a question about the mangas.
Mangoes?
Yeah, I know you talked so much about all the different arcs and stuff, but I don't think I ever got an actual number. How, many volumes are there, if I wanted to go and, freaking read this thing?
So, there are 12 volumes of
that's not a whole lot.
No, that's of just the main story itself.
Mm-hmm.
There are 2 extra volumes that are some short stories that kind of explore more of the Guardians on their own. And I'm calling them Guardians because that's the new official term for them.
Weird.
Not Senshi is still what they're called in Japan, but they translate it as Guardians rather than soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
So that's that. Go ahead.
And one thing that, because while we were watching Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon over the weekend, I did a lot of research on it, and the reason that Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon can be called Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon, and because it was the first one that came over that translated it as Guardian. So they're okay, Pretty Soldier Sailor Moon will be the anime, and Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon will be the thing. But then Viz was no, Guardian is better, so all of them were called Guardian. So it's the name stuck, but it's just I'm already reading Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon. What do you mean? What's different just calling it PGSM? It just stuck.
to diehard Sailor Moon fans, PGSM is always going to be the live action version.
Yeah, I'm pretty into PGSM.
I'm dominant in PGSM.
Pretty girls and Sailor Moon. Yeah,
pretty girls and shitty men.
And shitty men. Yeah.
AKA all girls and all men.
Yeah. Excuse me, not all men.
Whoa.
I know. Bold statement. But anyway, I wanted to first of all address an elephant in the room. Mm-hmm. That elephant is the first chapter of the game is not called Her Destiny.
Mm-hmm.
It's Hell Destiny. Hell Destiny is the name of the Oppositio Senshi group.
Not that they ever say that.
So they don't say that because it's the first chapter and you're supposed to infer that. It's spelled in Japanese as Heru Destiny.
Right.
Which is not how you say ha destiny to be
Yeah,
her
it is
destiny.
not. Yeah, it would be ha if it was her.
Gotcha.
So basically, it's a racist mistranslation.
Well, it's still funny because you think the opposite since she would have at least, when they showed up, been like, "Hi, we are Hell Destiny, and we're here to change fate and make you sad and stuff."
And maybe they said something like that,
I don't think
but
so.
it was fucked up and mistranslated. I don't know.
After seeing the fan translation for Nana that I shared in general from yesterday, I'm pretty certain that most fan translators shouldn't be allowed around translation because, like you read them and it's like there's no way they looked at the same text for this. Like it's not even close. Like you can let me go over to it. So one of them was like. So the localization, the official, is this was in March of 1999, 4 months before July. The fan translation says that was in July of 1999. It was less than 4 months. That's it. That's the word soup that you get. And it doesn't make any sense. And so I wonder if it's something similar to that, where he was just like, oh, H-E and then either L or R, so let's say R, because obviously her destiny, Sailor Moon's destiny, everything is good, and moved on. And then because they never said it as themselves, maybe that's why it went through. But it just...
So here's the more embarrassing bit about this for me. Mm-hmm. I've owned the Bishoujo Senshi Sailor Moon Another Story soundtrack, which is... it's not the actual songs from the game. It's live bands playing the music from the game. Mm-hmm. And there is a track called Hell Destiny.
Oh my gosh.
That track on my playlist is written as Her Destiny, but the actual file name is helldestiny.mp3.
Lol.
And I'm just like, I hate myself.
It's right there all along.
For the last 2 decades, I have been living a lie, thinking that it was Her Destiny. Sorry. It was not intentional on my part. Thanks, fan translators. And if this got an official translation, I think it would be actually good. Here's the thing about Sailor Moon is, and this is something I ended up looking up on TV Tropes, because TV Tropes has a lot of shit about Sailor Moon. It has a lot of shit in general. Mm-hmm. But there's a trope called Spell My Name with an S. And they have their own special page just for Sailor Moon.
Wow. Because
there's so many puns and references to things like food, geology, mythology, astronomy, and astrology. And I'm listing that all from the TV Tropes page now.
TV Tropes warning. Eli's about to disappear and not be able to podcast. He's just going to be clicking TV Tropes.
Oh God! suddenly, I'm looking at Power Rangers.
You to your foot before you go in there.
Yeah, I know. I don't want to end up on a wiki walk, and now I'm going to end up looking up the trope for wiki walks. It says it varied from well researched to badly written, badly mistaken by the author. So the Sailor Moon franchise has more examples than you can shake a moonstick at. And that's the problem, is the Tokyo Pop translation of the manga. That was the original what we got in the US. Not only did they give us the English names that the Deke dub had given to the Senshi, which kind of sucked. Mm-hmm. Although they called Usagi, Serena, they called her Bunny in the manga.
At least they were trying. And Bunny, as silly as it sounds, there is a good decade or two where Bunny was a normal name for a girl.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the closest you can get to being Usagi, pretty much in an English translation. But they fucked up so many names for various characters. Like Sailor Lead Crow became Sailor Red Crow. And just all sorts of stuff was mangled. And so fans were understandably upset about that, because as fans, we know what the truth is. We know that Malachite is Kunzite. We know that Sailor Red Crow is Sailor Lead Crow. We know that the Galaxy Cauldron is not the Galaxy Cordon.
Wow.
Yeah, it was bad. And then so there's a website called Miss Dream, and they have translations online. And then the new official Sailor Moon translation came out, endorsed by Kodansha. Yeah,
they put out their own. They're like, look, you guys have fucked this up for 20 fucking years.
Yeah, exactly. And when that got things wrong, the fans were just like, they tore it to bits. I went onto forums and would see people just like, this is the fucking worst. Like, why did we even get this? They should have done nothing at all. Like, there's no reason for this awful translation. And I'm like,
what was bad? Like, everything about it is so well researched, and like notes are all
it is
on it. It's like an incredibly, impeccably good translation. And when they had to localize something and change it, they put the original in the back. And they're like, hey, this is everything, but we changed it to be about condominiums because this just isn't a thing and you wouldn't get it.
Right, exactly. Their problem is that it wasn't 100% the original. And like fans love Sailor Moon, but they are not going to be as good at translating as someone who is a professional translator. I wonder if the rights holders, as in the people who helped create Sailor Moon in general, if they gave a seal of approval onto a translation, take that translation. Like, it's the one. Congratulations. Yeah, exactly. Like,
it's from Kodansha itself. Like,
and there were small issues. There was one point where Sparkling Wide Pressure, which is one of Jupiter's attacks, was named was named Spark Ring Wide Pressure, and that's like, okay, it's not a big deal, and they fixed it later on, but like the fans
I just saw that one, like I just got to it, and like for like the page itself in Japanese, they broke it up at Spark Ring Wide Pressure. Like there's bubbles for each one, so it's like it makes sense. It like I don't fault them because they then like somehow made this pun that only works in Japanese. They made it work in English. So condominiums are called mansions, like using the English word mansion in Japanese. But mon also means 1,000. I think. Don't quote me on that. 1,000 or 10,000. I'm rusty and I don't want to look it up. So, the joke was, oh, those aren't mon shins. Those are oku shins, because oku is the next level up in numbers from mon to oku. And so the translator was like, oh, look at those condominiums, and they're like, well, it's more like a condomillions.
Yeah, condomillions.
And it like they made the pun work, but it's not the pun that was there before. But it's just like everything was awesome and great, and I heart this translation so much, and I hate weeb elitism as seen in general chat over the past couple of days.
Oh my god, yeah.
This is Boku no Sailor Moon.
It's frustrating, and like what they wanted was someone who was a diehard fan who was also a professional translator, and I'm sure the professional translators really cared about Sailor Moon because they did a fantastic job with it, but it wasn't their otaku level of fan.
Well, also, frankly, even if they didn't, who cares? Like, I don't know, fans. That's the whole issue with fandom, is like you think that someone's passion is more important than like anything else, and it's because that's what you use as gatekeeping, right? It's all about like, oh, you're a real Sailor Moon fan, we'll name 3 of their albums, you know, so like, and that happens in that happens in all fandoms, not even just Sailor Moon.
Oh yeah, totally.
It's so,
and I mean, it's honestly why I don't participate in fandoms that much. I just don't really feel that kind of connection. Like, I mean, I love the things that I love. I get obsessive levels of love for the things that I care about, but I don't want to be a part of that community where if I'm not the right kind of obsessing, then I'm a terrible person and I need to I need to not call myself a fan.
Like, what I think is hilarious is how much I love Digimon, like, bleed Digimon. I'm going to force you guys to pick between not 2 games, one of which is Digimon, but between 2 Digimon games at some point. Like I still will like go into like a Digimon like subreddit or something like that, and somebody will be like, "Oh, this is just like when Tailmon did blah 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 blah." I'm like, no, her name's Gatomon. You watched it as Gatomon. You then learned her name was Tailmon in Japanese, and you like are being a little jerk about it.
Yeah,
and then, like,
I used to be that way with Pokemon. Like, no, it's Lizardon, not Charizard. Now I'm like, oh,
seriously? See, I can't even imagine being like that. I will say I do say Aerith and not Eris, but that's only because I think Aerith is a better sounding name.
Yeah, and it's been translated both ways in a bunch of different things. So really? In Kingdom Hearts, it's Aerith. That's where I must have forgotten. That's where I ran into her the first time, and then in the current translations, it's Aerith of 7. It's just the feels like a fan translation, Cursing Up a Storm original Final Fantasy 7 translation that called her Aerith.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah,
it's like
I don't
it's
think...
literally just where you found it is for that one.
They apparently did say shit a lot in that.
Media outside the original game and Advent Children, and I don't remember what they call her in that. So yeah. So so it's just, but that's not an elitism thing. That's just like I like that name better. Also, it's like they're so similar. Who cares?
Yeah.
It's
not like you're sitting there, you're like, oh, who's your favorite Pokemon? Oh, it's Haxorus. Oh, you mean Onanox? Sorry, I only speak Japanese.
Yeah. It's so dumb. I'd like to issue an apology for mentioning TV tropes. Apparently, Matt Jorgensen has gotten lost, and we'll have to send out an internet search party for him. More details on that to follow.
Speaking of translations and Sailor Moon and poor segues by me, what did you guys think about this game in general? Let's go to.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear you say that. I mean, I fucking love it because I'm a diehard Sailor Moon fan. I'm really glad to hear you say it owns Spiffle because, like, I know it's baby's first RPG. And I know that there are a lot of ways that could have been improved.
I'm in like a weird place with it where like it's over and I wish that it wasn't. And but like there were so many things that were frustrating and needed to be polished. So what like my review of it is what we got, I enjoyed. If they would have taken an extra year of development time and given us like RPG stuff to fill in the middle of the cutscenes and dungeons is all that we have for this game. And so if we had like exploration, like your party, like earlier, more stuff to do, like we mentioned Chapter 4, if Chapter 4 was about 20 hours long, that game would have been like best game of all time type stuff for me. Like I don't think any of the issues I had with it were irreconcilable. I just feel it's like, well, this is where we're going and we don't have enough money to QA any farther to see if this gets broken with an exponential leveling scale.
Also, just as to what you said earlier about the RPG stuff that we all crave, it's like born on a mountain, raised in a cave, cutscenes and dungeons is all I crave.
or in Sailor Moon's case, teleport directly to the top of mountain.
Yeah.
I was just listening to that first episode, and then
high up.
Yeah, you bringing that up, and I'm just like, that did happen.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then she fell.
Yeah. But yeah,
there's a couple. Sorry. Go ahead.
You go ahead.
I was going to say there's a couple other etymology things that I wanted to bring up that either I or the game messed up. So it's actually Queen Mataria, not Queen Metalia. Metalia is gobbledygook. That is not a word. Mataria is actually a Latin word for something buried in the earth.
There you go.
But she's been Metalia in everything, so
she will get Yeah, it's been back and forth. Like official translation at this point, I think is actually Metalia now, but originally, like, she was always spelled as Mataria, and there was an old Sailor Moon website called Diascaldi, that is unfortunately defunct because Genvid went down long ago. But yeah, they he would give reasons for, why he felt that this was the correct translation, and he would go into explanations. And that was like where a lot of Sailor Moon fans got their knowledge of what everything was. It's the Moon Calice, not the Moon Chalice. Just because like this is how this works, blah blah blah. But he gave the explanation of why it should be Metaria and not Metalia. But at this point, yeah, it does still get translated as Metalia, so it could go either or.
And that the word Metaria is translated as Metalia, and not just Sailor Moon, in everything. I think Metalia, like I think that he's wrong. That's okay. Putting my foot down. I think it's supposed to be Metalia, just like the chalice. It's chalice. I don't even care what he goes into. It is a cup. It is a chalice. The kana underneath it, no matter what, is definitely going to be chalice. They just don't have those letters in Japanese.
Well, here's the thing. Regardless of what it's supposed to be, like, linguistically, like, the thing is a chalice. So, yeah.
It's a moon
maybe he's renaming it, but maybe it's being renamed to a more correct name.
Well, so they use the characters Karisu to refer to it, which would come out to Calice, which I believe, if I remember correctly, was like the French word for chalice or something like that. Because Sailor Moon also uses a lot of French to Japanese to English,
which makes sense. But
because
we're English.
Now, at this point, like Japanese has borrowed so much English that French is the go-to foreign language.
Yeah,
like we were talking about this during the Persona episode where Mitsuru was saying "très bien."
Because she said it in English and Japanese.
Exactly. And so, like, it's kind of a mystical sounding language to people in Japan, and so, like, it gets used. Yeah. Like, a lot of the stuff in the Dream arc, Chibiusa has a thing called the Stallion Rev, which Rev means dream. It got mistranslated, I think, in the original Tokyopop manga to Stallion Love, which means lave is wash in
nice.
In
that's
French.
Fun. Just washing horses.
Wash a horse.
She was a horse girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she is. She totally falls in love with a flying horse. The other one I wanted to bring up was the Kyubey in the game. They translated it as Kishal. It should actually be Kishar. Kishar is the Babylonian Sumerian goddess of the earth, whereas Anshar was the god of the sky.
So that makes it.
There we go.
Makes it sense.
Yes. So Kishar makes more sense there.
Yeah. Speaking of the game and Anshar and all of these things, Spiffle, you said you were going to blow my mind and make me regret that I didn't play this game right whatsoever.
Oh my god. Well, neither did I. Okay, so I'm looking some stuff up, right? Because I'm just I was just wanting some sweet tips because the game gets hard at the end and my party was stupid. And I found out about this thing. It's not hidden. It's right there in the game, called LAP. Any of y'all see that?
No.
It stands for well, I'm not actually sure. It's like link points. I don't know what the L is for. Maybe link action. Yeah, because your actions, you have your attack, your specials, and then your link actions, right? And those are called link action points. LAP. And if you go to any character's status screen, which why would you do that? Except to check which one has the most defense, so you know which one to put in which row. They actually have LAP. Here's the thing about LAP. Every character's LAP starts at 0, and it goes up when you use link actions. It's some Final Fantasy II shit.
My god.
And
Are you serious?
anytime you use a link action, the damage is... Oh, and it's throughout the entire game. Like, it just goes up throughout the whole game, and it gets higher and higher and higher up to 255, and once it's 255, then it's at max for the game. And every link action, the way the damage calculates... So I thought the damage... So first of all, link actions, row doesn't matter.
Okay.
I thought it did, but that's just because I was like, well, no, when the back row character uses it, it's weak. But that's just because the back row character is weak, right?
Yeah.
So it's just because they're weak, not because they're in the back row. So whenever you use a link action, first of all, I'm sure y'all noticed the damage calculation is based on who initiates it, right? Regardless of who the person is. So what happens is part of the damage calculation is based on who initiates it and uses regular damage. So it's like it's their attack, it's the enemy's defense, it's blah, blah, blah. But another portion of every link action not only is calculated from the LAP of both participants, but it also ignores defense.
Oh my god.
So the first portion of that isn't dependent on LAP and is just going to be whatever you'd expect. But the second half of that can be pumped up by raising your characters' LAP. And
so, yeah, if I'd been grinding with link techniques this whole time,
your dudes would have been way better. Yeah. But it's tricky though. You can't just use them. The way it works is every time you use a link tech, you get half of an LAP. But the integer that, but I'm guessing the code that keeps track of LAP is in what you call in programming an int, which means it can only store whole numbers. I know it's int because it goes up to 255, and that's what an 8-bit int holds 255. So it's not like it actually keeps track of like 0.5. There must be some other bit somewhere that keeps track of it. And the way it works is, in battle, if Sailor Moon uses a link tech with Sailor Jupiter, when Sailor Moon initiates that move, Sailor Moon gains half of an LAP. Sailor Jupiter does not. It's whoever initiates it. Then, if Sailor Moon uses another link tech with Sailor Jupiter, it could be the same one, or I guess it could theoretically be a different one if they have two with the same two characters. Then Sailor Moon gets the other half of that LAP that she needs, and her permanent LAP actually goes up. But here's the thing. If Sailor Moon does a link tech with Sailor Jupiter and gets half of an LAP, and then doesn't do the other half for the rest of the battle, then it's like it didn't happen. And if Sailor Moon does a link tech with another Senshi, nothing happens. Like, once you initiate getting half of an LAP with one character, you have nothing. You're blocked from getting it with any other characters until you finish.
That is way more complex than I ever gave this game credit for.
So you have to use two. You have to do it 2 times to get one. So I started doing that in like the final fucking dungeon. The problem is the final fucking dungeon, I was beating every enemy in 1.5 turns basically, and it wasn't enough. And because of the characters' speed, like I had like Sailor, whichever one was doing, Venus was doing Mondo damage. Venus went like second. So Moon went first. Everyone else went after her. So first Moon would go, and Moon would like link up with Jupiter. So Moon would get half of an LAP. Then Venus would go and kill the heck out of the enemies, but not actually kill them, just hit them really hard. Second turn, and then all the other Senshi would also do their link techs to get half of an LAP with whoever they want to get half of an LAP with. Second turn, though, only Moon would have time to use her thing, so she would get an LAP, and then Venus would use hers, win the battle, and the rest of my LAPs don't happen. However, I think the tutorial I was using, or the guide I was reading, did not specify if that half of an LAP does carry over to the next battle. So I can use Sailor and Moon and Jupiter one battle to get half, and then use Moon and Jupiter in the next battle to get another half. I think it actually might, because even though what I'm saying, the strategy I'm explaining right now, shouldn't have resulted in most of my Senshi gaining LAP, they were. Kind of.
Okay.
So all I know is after a while, so basically what I did was I just started using way more link techs, and then later I went and I checked their status, and I was like, oh, so-and-so has 10 LAP now. They had 0 before. And of course they all had fucking 0. Even though I'm in the last dungeon of the game. So, it's real weird, and maybe if the game had a manual that we could have read, maybe it explains it. Maybe some NPC explains it. I don't know. I think I talked to like every NPC in the game, but I didn't find that. They probably wouldn't have explained it. They probably had that Dragon Quest thing where some NPC is like, if you use link text more often, they'll be more powerful. So like they explained the idea, but like
I don't remember seeing any NPC
is too damn nuanced to actually figure out. I don't know.
Pokemon does
weird,
that real bad. Like Pokemon in game tells you how EVs and IVs work, but I've never ever known that for the entire history of Pokemon. Until somebody was like, "Oh no, this guy," when he's like wow, your Pokemon is really fast. That means you have the fastest Pokemon. I'm like, that's not, no. That's, give me a status screen where I can just see all the numbers.
I do think in Pokemon it is supposed to be obfuscated, because the idea of not EVs, but IVs, is that every Pokemon is supposed to feel like it's unique. So I don't think the idea that fans would be reverse engineering this and picking it apart and actually gaming it, I don't think was intended. I think the idea is that it's supposed to be mystified, right? Yeah. It's just a mechanism. And so Dragon Quest VII does something funny. It's got a class system, so you have XP and AP. At one point, an NPC is like, hey, don't just train around weak monsters forever. Eventually you'll stop getting stronger. But the thing is, you never stop getting XP. So I'm like, that's what he said isn't true. Maybe he just means philosophically, eventually like the amount of XP you're getting isn't enough to matter. Well, the thing is, the game never tells you how much AP you get. Ever. It doesn't say. You just get it in the background and eventually learn new abilities. At some point, the game has a hard cap where after you've done a certain amount of battles in a given region, you just stop getting AP. Wow. And the game does not tell you that. So you're like, I'm still getting XP, but I haven't learned a new ability in a long time.
On those mechanical things, I actually, and this is another thing I learned from TV tropes. Sorry, please don't get more lost, Matt. We'll find you soon. I learned this from TV tropes. Sailor Mercury's Shaban spray actually lowers the enemy's attack.
Yep. And all the guides are like, that attack is crucial and you have to be using it. I sure didn't.
Yeah.
So like they said that because I was using her for the Sin fight, and I was like, oh, what should I do? It's like, oh, lowers her attack, and her other one lowers defense, and my nothing changed. None of the numbers were affected whatsoever. So if it happens, it's not by like a more than maybe a 1% thing.
Well,
I don't know.
That game's that game's numbers are really weird and exponential. So maybe you just didn't lower it enough to cross that threshold where they're not doing mondo damage anymore. Because you know how with that game it's like you're at one level of defense and it does 500 damage, and then you gain like one fucking defense point and now it's doing like 100 damage. It's like it probably just is weird numbers probably.
Yeah, but because I saw that and I was excited. I was like, cool, because all I have is Mercury. Let me lower this defense, and it still was 400 each turn. But
yeah.
Oh yeah, and to finish off my cap about the LAP, because of this mechanic, Chibi Moon actually has the best, some of the best attacks in the entire game. Chibi Moon's link techs are apparently god tier. Everything else about her is bad, but her link techs are god tier because of if she has high LAP. And the other person also
makes sense.
LAP.
Yeah, the Chibi Moon would be a good support character.
Yeah, she's the only character besides Sailor Moon who's obvious that has a link tech with every person. So link techs being her shtick makes sense. And
friendship.
I had no idea about any of this. And I feel like a whole world of possibilities is opened up, but I don't want to fucking play again.
I'm like, I really wish I had looked up. I normally don't like looking at guides, but when you got such a weird, subtle, obtuse mechanic like that, I'm like, okay, I wish I'd been doing this the entire game.
Yeah. Were you using a lot of link text then, Matt? It sounds like that's probably the case, because he said he didn't have as tough a time with it.
I wasn't, because they never seemed to be doing a shit ton of damage, so I was like, eh.
Yeah, I did the thing, which is why I wish this game had a little better invisible hand than it does, because when you play a RPG for the first time, is you press every button, you see what every button does, and you use your tech, and it does 5 damage, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna go do 99999 damage with my normal attacks instead.
Everything
and you
never
ever go back to it. Just I used Chibi for the first time, and it's 3, and I'm like, okay, let me level you up, and then just 3, and I'm like, all right, you're my healer.
Yeah, it's funny. I think here's the thing. I generally like numbers being a little more mystified and obfuscated because of my love for Dragon Quest mostly. But I do think that weirdly enough, even though this is Baby's first RPG, someone was talking about Dragon Ball Fighter Z recently, and they're like, a lot of people think that games that have a bunch of different meters and different kinds of cancels and moves, like the really extreme Arc System Works anime fighters like BlazBlue and Dragon Ball Z, are less accessible for newbies than something like Street Fighter, which is a little more simple and bread and butter mechanics based. But But it's actually the opposite, because by giving the newcomer way, way, way more tools, it gives them more ways to get out of situations and be creative, even if they haven't really learned how to play yet. And I feel like with this game, even though it's baby's first RPG, actually giving more nitty-gritty numbers actually would make the game way easier, not way harder, right?
Yeah.
And I think that someone who's new to RPGs would be like, oh, I appreciate it. Instead of having to intuit that this attack is more powerful than this attack, I can just see, oh, this attack has an attack power of this, and this attack has an attack power of this. I can clearly compare the two, and it's not hard. And again, I don't normally play games that do that, but for this, it would have actually been appreciated.
Yeah, in this game, like, you kind of just work under the assumption that more EP means more damage. And that's what it is.
And then on top of all of this, with the link text being the secret to making the game not suck, is they're optional. You have to go into a special menu and figure out the things that I, as a completionist, I just worked through the combinations and permutations that I learned playing Maple Story.
But yeah, it was kind of fun for me, but maybe not for people who aren't math nerds.
So, on the topic of Sailor Moon and games,
there was one more thing. Speaking of link text, so back in episode 1, Spiff was like, "So I did all of that to learn all the link text, and none of it worked. What do I? All of the things were still grayed out. There are 2 link tech menus, one of which is for 5-man links." But I've never got it to work. Those were always grayed out for me.
Wait, really?
Those depend on your formation and the senshi who are with you. You can only do the Sailor
formation. Are you sure?
Yes, they do. They absolutely do. The Sailor Planet attack, that one I don't think requires a specific formation, but it requires specific senshi.
Okay.
You have to go with Mercury, Mars, Venus, Jupiter, and Moon.
Yeah.
And if you don't have those specific 5...
I guess I just got lucky, because there's like 6 of them, and I feel like at any point in the game, I was usually able to use like 1 or 2 of them, but I guess I just got lucky.
I was never able to use any of them. I figured they were, but like those could have just been link techniques that you could have learned. Like, you go in that menu where you're already having to do it, and then you put in 5 senshi, and it's like, ta-da, here you go. Here's their big ultimate special move. That would have been a guiding hand to tell you, like, oh, you have to use these people. And then if you get in your map and it's not doing that, you're like, oh, well, it's not working. Maybe I have to do it in the right thing.
Or it'll to you automatically, but put like what this game needed was like a skills screen of the menu where you can point at each skill, and it gives you like a little bit of flavor text about what it does, either with specific numbers or just with flavor text that says a powerful attack where Sailor and Venus hurt the enemies a lot, or a medium attack that also lowers it. You know what I mean? Like a little bit of flavor text for each move. That would have then you could have really intuited what to do.
Yeah.
In the case of the 5 senshi combos, if you look at them, they have names like Sailor Victory Attack, Sailor Arrow Attack, Sailor Cluster Attack, which means you have to be in that specific formation. It would have been nice if it gave more information than that, but it doesn't really provide that kind of. I used Sailor Planet Attack at one point during one of my Let's Play sessions, so it's definitely in there, but I don't think there was any other point where I used the other attacks.
Yeah. I used there was one point in the game where I could use one of them, and it was doing enough damage that it was my primary strat. The problem is also it uses so much EP. If you use it, everybody else has to just attack.
Yeah.
Because if they use any of their EP, then all of a sudden the attack's not going to fire. But yeah, there was at least one dungeon where my go-to was to have Sailor use that, everyone else do nothing, and it would end the battle in one turn. But yeah, it was a very circumstantial thing.
Yeah. I should start this game over and go and play it properly and report back. Like, oh, hey, this is why they said the game was 15 hours long, because each week we got like an hour and a half of like content out of it per like each Eli episode, but each of those included so I watched an anime and just held down the buttons for 20 minutes.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's interesting finding out about all that stuff 2 decades after I played the game.
Yeah.
And I just can't, I can't help but feel like I've been doing it wrong this whole time, because I have.
For Square Roots, shout outs to Square Roots, on the first series that they do was for Final Fantasy IX, and John was like, well, I've played this game a million times. I'm going to have a perfect playthrough this time. So he was following along with a 100% guide of like, oh, there's a missable where like you can talk to this guy, do the small little fetch quest and get a potion, or get a high potion like 2 towns before they sell them in a shop type thing. And so he was going through and doing all of that, which for my games I probably will do, so that we don't end up here at the like Shining Force follow-up and I'm just like, oh, did you know that like your main character had an attack button type thing? Just like whatever it is. Like,
did you know that this super obvious thing all along was super obvious and you can do it?
That reminds me, man, of the first time I played Xenoblade Chronicles, the first one, because it was all hyped up, and I heard it was really good. It wasn't coming to America at the time. I know it did later, right? But I import it from Europe. I mod my Wii. I'm really excited to play it, and I invite Bernard over to my apartment. This is in college in like 2011, and we're playing it. And at first we're like, "Wow, this title screen is beautiful." Wow, because it is. And then we're running around and we're like, okay, the intro's a little weird, but it's fun. The battle system's pretty interesting. Okay. And the game never gives you like a straight up tutorial. It's not bad at tutorializing. Actually, yeah, it's not bad at all. It just doesn't overdo it. So we're running around.
Yeah, it's not 2. 2 is...
Yeah,
you get your last tutorial in 2 in the 10th chapter of the game.
So we're running around and I'm hitting A, and the thing is I'm playing with the Wiimote Nunchuck, right, which has it's kind of a weird controller setup. Hot take, I actually love the Nunchuck. It's so comfortable. I love the way it fits in your hand. It feels great. The Wiimote sucks ass, but I actually like the Nunchuck. So we're playing with Wiimote Nunchuck combo, and we've been playing the game for like 30 minutes at this point, running around doing some quests or whatever. We were very impressed that when you get to the first town, there's a little cutscene, and I thought the cutscene was masking a load screen, but then after the cutscene ends, I turn around and run out of the town, and there's no load screen. It's seamless, and I was like, this is blowing my mind. Holy shit. Because like at the time, that was amazing. Anyway, point is, I'm just like, I realized after 30 minutes of playing the game, hey, I haven't hit every button on this controller yet. So I hit the up button to see what happens. I hit B to see what happens. And then I hit C, which is a little nub on the nunchuck, and the guy jumps. And me and Bernard screamed because we didn't know you could jump in this game because it's a fucking JRPG, right? So like it was like that meme where it's like I sleep and then it's like real shit. Like we like fell out of our chair hooting and hollering and we're like, you could jump in this game? And I'm like, what if the game went? How long could I play that game without hitting the C button? Like.
Speaking of jumping in the Xenoblade games, jumping is like crucial in the Xenoblade games, but the first Xenoblade game I played was X, and in X you are sprinting because it's the biggest open world out of any of the 3 games, and so you're just like sprinting across this huge open world, and you pull your trigger to jump, and it like feels like Mario where you're like long jumping to do huge distances, and everything is great. I get into Xenoblade 2, every time you jump you come to a complete stop to like catch yourself at the end, and it just never felt right to me because I'm like, oh, look at this big wide open space, let me just run and jump everywhere, and I'm just like constantly stopping, and I'm like, oh
yeah. And I mean, I agree with it because Xenoblade 2's thing is that it's like, instead of just having fun and going around, it's like actually like weighty and real. But yeah, it's certainly not as fun as jumping a million feet in the air. Like Xenoblade X, the second the game starts, instead of going to the town, you can just like jump up the side of a fucking mountain.
Yeah,
you can literally get up level geometry and get like on a mountain that doesn't look like you should be able to climb it because you can just jump so high, and you're just like, lol.
And you're like, wow, everything is great up here. Then you turn around and there's a level 100 dinosaur right behind you. No, never mind. Gotta go.
Yeah, but, I fully support being able to jump in games that are not action games. It's a good thing.
Yeah. Speaking of which, there's a jump button in Xenogears.
Hell yeah, there is. you're going to be real excited about it for a while, and then at some point, you're going to stop being excited about it. And by that I mean the part where you have to use it.
About it.
No, I'm not super looking forward to that.
But yeah, we have some more Sailor Moon stuff to touch on before we go to...
before we continue to talk about Xenoblade forever. I know you guys love it.
We'd be moving to Xenogears to get ready for the next one.
The Xenos. I'm calling them Xenos.
It's okay. I have typed Xenosaga. For all of our notes, I've typed Xenosaga, moved on to the next section of the notes, remembered, went back, and changed it to Gears.
They're all the same game as far as I'm concerned.
I have not said anything. I've been like, you just keep saying Xenosaga.
Yeah.
There's
they
like
are legally
18...
distinct.
Yeah.
They are legally distinct, yet share a Wikipedia page, so...
It really is bizarre how they're like, hey, we're gonna make a fucking prequel to a game that we don't own the IP for, and you're gonna fucking deal with it.
Yeah.
So, for more hot Sailor Moon content...
Yeah.
I actually... I mentioned in the first podcast for Sailor Moon, Another Story... that I had run a message board RPG in like middle through high school, and
right now I'm doing that meme where he's like rubbing his hands, poking out behind.
yeah. I gotta admit, real quick, I'm super embarrassed about this, but at the same time, I'm pretty sure I was like 16 years old when I wrote this. And as I was saying in the chat the other day, like, I feel like everybody in their mid-teens is an edgelord.
Yeah.
Because you think that something being adult means it's gritty and it's dark and violent and full of sex. Like, that's just what being an adult means when you're a kid.
My life is so violent and so full of sex.
Yeah. So prepare yourselves for the cringe that is the Black Moon RPG history that I wrote out.
Oh no.
Well, before you jump into it, I just want you to know this started in episode 1 when you were talking about your history with Sailor Moon, and you were proud of this. And here we are now.
Me going, oh god, I can't believe I'm doing this.
a month long transformation, as it were, of Sailor Eli.
I don't often share the cringy stuff from my youth, because I have a deep-seated sense of shame. I just don't often express that in the podcast.
Yeah.
Easily embarrassed. So, yes?
No, I got something very important to say, but I'll say it after your whole story is done, so remind me.
All right. Try to be gentle. This is the Black Moon RPG history.
Oh my gosh.
A very long time from now, a group of young women, not so different from ourselves, are the rulers of the most powerful empire in the galaxy, Crystal Tokyo.
So far,
Everyone... Thank you. Everyone is the ruler of her respective planet, and they protect the galaxy from any danger that may come their way. Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, and Venus are the guardians of Queen Serenity and King Endymion, rulers of Crystal Tokyo, while Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, and Saturn protect the galaxy and planet from any outside forces. Though they are technically immortal, as they cannot die of natural causes, they still required heirs to their thrones. As a result, a new generation of sailor soldiers was born. These 5 girls would be sent to the past to train as the new guardians of Small Lady Serenity, who would one day rule over us all. Sailor Moon, as Chibiusa is called in the future, traveled to the past with her 5 guardians, Polaris, Phobos, Deimos, Callisto, and Aphrodite. Which of these is not like the other? To help her friends become... Right?
I also love that your poll for Phobos and Deimos was literally just the names of her ravens. Like,
yeah.
In my head right now, I'm not seeing like, oh, here's like Phobos is the sun. Here's Sailor Sun. No. It's just the bird. It's just like
no. In my defense, those are also the moons of Mars.
Okay, but still, I just see the birds. It's like 3 girls and 2 birds just standing like on a roof in Tokyo.
Hey, two birds in sailor costumes and tiaras. Thank you.
That is it. That's what I see.
To help her friends become the strong warriors she knew they would turn out to be. As Sailor Chibi Moon, as she is called in our time, she would fight alongside them, helping however she could in order to strengthen her guardians. Unfortunately, they did not know that someone was lurking in the shadows, waiting for just the right moment to strike. Tsukino Usagi, Mizuno Ami, Hino Rei, Kino Makoto, and Aino Minako did not realize the danger that was coming once again. They thought that they had destroyed the evil entity known as Chaos after their battle with Sailor Galaxia. This is real, actual lore, by the way. Chaos is like the big bad entity.
What this is you proving that you deserve to run the Black Moon RPG.
Yes.
You're just like, look, I know my stuff, guys.
I know the lore.
Let me just name drop some shit now.
I have the mangoes. I know the lore. Where was I? And that all was peaceful once and for all. Even Kaio Michiru did not realize that only by looking in her mirror, she would know of the fearsome beast that had returned from its 4 Earth-year dormancy to try and rule the universe once again. Meo Setsuna and Tomoe Hotaru had a bad feeling that something was happening, but Michiru and her partner, Tenno Haruka, told them just to ignore it, that it was a figment of their imaginations. How wrong they were.
And I love that, like, you didn't put that in a scene. You just are a friend telling somebody else about a scene that they saw. They're like, so Michiru said this, right? And then so-and-so said this.
Yeah, exactly. The 9 soldiers fought a fierce battle with the intangible Chaos, but nothing seemed strong enough to defeat it. Suddenly, out of nowhere, 6 different never-before-seen attacks were hurled at Chaos.
I'm not going to tell you what they were.
Yeah.
Just there were 6 of them and they were different, and I promise that they weren't in the manga.
Yeah, exactly. As the dust cleared, 6 young sailor soldiers could be seen standing proudly at the source of the attacks. Chaos was severely weakened, but not yet defeated. As a last resort, it looked for the weakest of all the soldiers and hurled itself into her body, poisoning her mind and wreaking havoc on her soul. The soldiers watched in horror as Sailor Chibi Moon, their princess, was being transformed and tainted by Chaos into someone whom everyone hoped they would never see again. My face is so red right now.
So far, I like your...
I don't know what you're talking about. This is fantastic.
So far, I love your gachapon bullshit so that we can have Black Lady back in our game shit than the one we got in the game.
Thank you. As Chibi Moon was tossed to the ground after having been completely ravished by Chaos. Not sure why I used the...
Don't use that word ever again.
Oh, I'd rather not. Yeah, you're right. Look, I was young. I was stupid. Eternal Sailor Moon, her future mother and queen of Crystal Tokyo, ran to her and took her in her arms. She cried and watched fearfully as the golden crescent moon on her future daughter's forehead transformed into a black crescent, the symbol of the Black Moon clan. The young girl pushed away from the elder's arms and flew to the sky. She looked at her hands and body, then smiled evilly. Finally.
Those adverbs.
Yeah, I know. I am free once again, she said. Now I, Black Lady, will be able to claim what is rightfully mine. Thus begins the story of the return of the Black Moon. Yeah.
Or even better.
Oh yeah.
No, that's wasn't the intro. It was fuck. I forgot how it went.
No,
there it is.
Yeah. Yeah. You only have to hear it 1,000,000 times.
Right?
So yeah, that's oh boy. That's cringy 16-year-old Sailor Eli writing horrible fan fiction for his message board RPG. I hope you liked it. Thank you.
That was the best thing that I've ever heard, Eli, and I want you now to just read us all of the posts on that entire forum. You could start now. You could start on a sub podcast, but I want to know everything that's going on. Maybe not read like the players of your game, but like if you can find a good like monologue section of stuff other Eli said about the Black Moon RPG, I would love a recurring segment of Eli dramatically reads. Agreed. Like we can make it a subcast where we record like 10 minutes of it before we do our normal episodes, and I just throw them up as bonuses for season 3. I don't care.
Awesome. I will have to go through my... I can't believe I still have so much of this shit. Yeah,
it's great.
Oh boy. Yeah. I'm glad you all enjoyed it. It was like heckin' embarrassing for me.
Yeah.
But
it's great.
It's out in the open now. I can only be as embarrassed about it as I personally feel. Mm-hmm. Nobody can make fun of me for my cringy bullshit because I agree that it's cringy bullshit.
Oh,
right.
That reminds me of my life advice. You said you're a deep well of shame. Here's the thing. I'm also a deep well of shame, and right now it might ruin my entire life. So I've learned that you should never have any shame because it'll ruin your life.
That might be going a little too far in the opposite direction. Fuck it.
No shame.
Cool.
No shame.
I enjoyed sharing that, as embarrassed as I was, because I knew that you guys would unabashedly love it.
Wait, Eli, I forget. Are you a Simpsons head?
Oh yeah. I adore The Simpsons. I can't believe it took this fucking long for steamed hams to become a meme.
Right? Because, like, that's always been, like, one of the all-time best scenes of the entire show.
Yeah.
Although I do think that if a scene from that episode was going to get famous, I want the next one to be the tall man in a small car. Because that's actually the best scene in that episode.
It's hilarious. That whole episode, like... Seasons 1 through, like, 8, or even, maybe even 9. Seasons 1 through 8 or 9, just fucking gold. Yep. The problem is that, like, and this is something that I've read up on, The Simpsons was satirizing all of the wholesome sitcoms that were coming out around that time, because this was the era of Full House.
Mm-hmm.
I think Punky Brewster... and things like that were just like, they were just wholesome, and they were, everybody learned a lesson every episode. And so they were satirizing that. And then The Simpsons became so popular that TV shows started to emulate it. It was no longer satire. And so they've had to find other things to satirize. And it's just like, they're still popular, and I would venture to say this might be a controversial opinion, but I do think that they're still enjoyable and good. But it's not the same as it used to be because they're not satirizing anything.
Yeah, I don't agree that it's still good, but I do agree that the general consensus that it's like after season 9 it's just bad is wrong. I believe there's like 1 or 2 seasons, maybe 10 and 11, maybe 11 or 12 that are like kind of bad, like pretty much just all bad. But then it had like a second little bump, and seasons like 11, 12, 13, something like that are actually really freaking good. But it took a long time for it to be like bad. Although I do think it's bad now, but I think it took a while to get there. I don't think it was I don't think it was like instantaneous. But yeah, man, one of my favorite film critics says that seasons 1 through 9 of The Simpsons, or maybe 2 through 10, are like, I think he called it one of mankind's greatest achievements, and I honestly don't even think that's hyperbole.
Yeah, no, they're fantastic. They're so good. What was I gonna say? I don't know. Part of the reason why I have such a detestation for Family Guy is because it was clearly trying to be The Simpsons.
Yeah, it was like, what if Simpsons, but edgy?
Yeah.
Which is funny, because Simpsons was actually already kind of edgy.
Simpsons was edgy for its time. Absolutely. Family Guy, before it was canceled originally, was okay. There were moments that were funny. But it wasn't a good show. there's one episode of Family Guy that I like, and it's the episode where Brian falls in love with the old opera singer.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a genuinely
good one.
That's the good episode. It's a genuinely good episode. Everything else is like, oh, this is kind of funny and random in the middle of this episode that I don't really care about. Like, I would quote the funny, like, random, like, smash cuts, but I never liked the episodes in general. After it came back, it just got mean. It has just become edgy bullshit with a mean spirit.
Well, and that's like the problem. Regardless of whether it's funny or not, it's mean-spirited, so you feel bad when you're watching it. It doesn't, that the fact that whether it's funny or not doesn't even, like, matter. Like, yeah, it's the attitude that's so off-putting.
I am someone who likes South Park. I haven't watched it in years, so it may have actually, like, I may not like it now.
I have a lot of feelings about South Park because of their position and power to do something in the 2016 election, and in the end they did not, and their whole, like, we make fun of everybody thing at the beginning was revealed to be a lie, and was instead just like, we're libertarian assholes.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I knew that was the case. It's kind of spoiled my, like, many, like, decades of loving South Park. Like, how they handled the election, just kind of like, oh, okay, you're kind of just spineless, mean assholes. Yeah. And that was what I had heard, at least to some extent. So, I mean, like, up to a certain point, I would say I like South Park.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Family Guy has just... It's just so mean. Like, everybody is a terrible person. Everybody is constantly at each other's throats. Everybody's, everybody is cruel to Meg for no reason.
Yeah.
And as someone who grew up as...
Yeah. Oh, no, go on.
I was going to say, someone who grew up as, a girl who didn't feel like she fit in her own body and who felt like an outsider regardless of what I did. I could identify with Meg, and then it really hurt seeing her just get made fun of constantly.
Well, I think it's one of those things where the fans had a negative impact on the show. Like, I'm not here to defend the host creators, period, but I do think it got even worse because the most popular character was Stewie, right?
Yeah.
So what's going to happen? If all of your fans love Stewie, eventually everyone's just going to be Stewie.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, the mean-spiritedness and, like, the classic line, that everyone quotes from Peter is, like, shut up, Meg. Because the joke used to be, originally, and again, not trying to pin the show anyway, but, like, there was an identifiable heart behind it. And the joke was that everyone's mean to Meg, and that's bad. Like, they're mean. Like, like, it's critical of the characters being mean. But the thing is, all people who watch the show are like, no, I love Stewie, and I love being mean to Meg. So eventually it just morphed into, well, no, now we're just being mean to Meg because we don't like Meg, which is the complete opposite of what the show was originally saying. Although now on one hand, fans are likely to misinterpret anything, but you can also say that if everyone who watches an artwork misinterprets what it's saying, then maybe it wasn't saying it very effectively.
That's true.
Like Fight Club, for example. If people get the wrong message from Fight Club, part of it's on them, but also it's because maybe the directing and the cinematography of the movie was not really conveying what the script was trying to convey, and that's why you get the mixed messages,
Yeah.
Compare with Martin Scorsese, whose work will never be misinterpreted in any realistic way because he knows, because he's a really good director and knows what he's doing,
Yeah. Like, learning about Fight Club and, like, the messages that were meant to be behind it, and, like, about being gay and toxic masculinity and things like that, like, it makes me appreciate Fight Club more, but at the same time it makes me angry because there's so many people who did not see those aspects of it and just think it's a cool movie with a guy who fights people, and
well, that's the problem is if you're portraying is that it made being bad look too cool. And I don't think it was on purpose, because again, if you look at what the movie's really saying textually, it's not saying that being bad is cool.
It's all Brad Pitt's fault. Fuck that guy.
But the directing makes it look so cool that
Yeah.
I react negatively to over-directed stuff like that anyways. Just like when you guys were like, oh, I love David Lynch, all I had heard about David Lynch was like every time he looks at his radiator, he's thinking about his dad, and that makes the whole movie click or whatever. And I'm like, that sounds like the type of bullshit that like I don't like. And so when the directing is like really arty and going for all of this stuff to like hide their message, no, like everything should tell your message, not hide it. Not like, oh, like it's cool if you think of this, then the whole thing is about toxic masculinity or whatever, and not just like, no, like make Brad Pitt like the ugly guy, like give it to fucking Steve Buscemi. That's Tyler Durden's character now.
Yeah. And that's another problem. You bring up the word nuance. Nuance doesn't exist on the internet.
Yeah.
Not at all. And it's so frustrating to me as someone who kind of prides himself on reading into nuance and seeing nuance and understanding that and recognizing that things are complicated and not as simple as they may appear on the surface. And then people are like, no, this is a black and white thing. And that,
so whatever. Just as a general aside about internet culture, before we get way too far down, right now we're talking, we've
gone off the rails from
we went off of a Simpsons reference, talked about the Simpsons, then Family Guy, and now we wound up here. So we should probably
it's
dial
TV
this back
tropes,
somewhere.
the podcast.
We did it, guys. We got caught in a TV tropes link, but we're just trying to find Matt. That's all it is.
Yeah, that's it.
But one of my favorite things about there is no nuance on the internet is leftist Twitter has become everything is nuance, no nuance on the internet. It's just like, wait, no, what do you mean right or wrong? Like I'm adamant that there is a middle ground, and it's beautiful. But I thoroughly enjoying it.
I feel bad. Like I don't want us to be the podcast that gripes about leftist culture, because I don't want anyone to think that we're against that kind of thing as well. Like,
oh no, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I am too. Yeah.
No, go back.
Yeah. Shit. But yeah, we should probably we'll reel it back in. Let's head back towards Sailor Moon territory. Although you were going to read Roscoe and James, right?
Oh, Photobucket is the worst website ever, and it was just loading, but not like my website loading. It was an asset on its page, probably used like Shockwave 1.0, and was not loading. But so we have been going for about an hour. I think that we should transition now to making Eli actually hyped to play Xenogears, the podcast. Good luck.
Yeah. I have no understanding of the Xeno series at all.
This is the first one, so
it all sounded like the name Xeno plus word has always struck me as, this sounds really dark and edgy, and I probably wouldn't be into it that much, honestly.
It's almost not dark at all.
So anyway, long story short, the same people made Chrono Trigger, Xenogears, Xenosaga, Baten Kaitos, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and it's cool to see these artists who started doing the same general shtick 20 years ago finally had their artistic vision come to fruition in a great game. It inspires me a lot. I want to be like them as artists, and that's why Xenogears is cool. The end. In addition, I said I was going to share a couple of tips. The first tip is about the speed up thing. Sam, would you like to share that, since you're the one who's actually done it?
Yeah, so there exists an issue, quote unquote, with Xenogears that's actually a really cool use of technical limitations of the PlayStation to give you a cinematic experience. However, we're in the future, and it's really frustrating for us.
Yeah. It very much might be an issue depending on who you are.
Yeah. So the text comes up not all like frame by frame like a lot of people do, and there's no skip to the end button, but all the text, like every letter, every word, shows up in like a natural speaking rhythm, which is cool, except it's as if you had to wait on a voice acting line when you've already read the subtitles and you're just waiting for it to get over. So it's like but then you don't get to read it at the end of it. So it's like a frustratingly slow thing because for example, it'll be like, oh, hey, did you talk to Susie? I heard she needed something from you. Instead of the sentence just all coming up like there, you would get, oh, hey, and then you'd be pressing X to go to the next thing, but it's not done filling out the box yet. So then it goes up to do the next sentence, and you're still mashing, and it doesn't go to the next box yet. And then it finally finishes and lets you go to the next box. And so it's like a frustratingly slow thing. So now that we're in the future and people have gotten really good at hex editing, there is a simple 2-line gameshark code that adds in a press X to fill the box button. So
nice.
It's really easy if you're playing it on anything that accepts gameshark codes. If you're playing it on like an actual system, if you're playing it on an emulator, you can do it. If you have, so I don't know if this works, but if you have a gameshark disc and you put it in a PS3 and you load up the gameshark codes for the thing, and you save it for Xenogears and then load the PSN one, I've heard that works, but I don't know if this is a code that you have to keep on or if this is a code that you can bake into your save file, which is what you would do there, would just be saving it into the save file. I don't know if that works on the PS3, so there might be hope if you don't have a copy laying around, but yeah, it's a gameshark code. It's you don't even have to patch it. They have patches that put it in there for you, but you don't have to do the patch. You can just turn on the gameshark code and have fast text, and it's beautiful.
Yep.
It saves in the speed run. It saves 5 hours off the speed run
of like a 55-hour long game.
Yeah,
so ridiculous.
Yeah. So I highly recommend playing with it if you are a fast reader. If Eli, if you and Ken are going to be doing silly voices with it, you might not even notice. So it's toss up, but it's definitely annoying, especially for like shopkeepers. I don't think should have cinematic dialogue.
Yeah, but if it's a cutscene, it's fine. But when you're talking to all the NPCs, you're like, ugh.
Yeah. And one thing they do that's cool is when you bring up a text box, it doesn't take control away from you, so you can still run around.
Which started in Chrono Trigger.
So I end up talking to a shopkeep, and he's like, "Oh, let me tell you this story before I just tell you that I have buy and sell," and I'm running around in circles in frustration
and jumping over, doing bunny hops while you're waiting for him to talk.
Yeah.
Like Half-Life 2.
Yeah. But so definitely look into that. I'll have links in the Now Playing, and I'll pin it, and I'll put it in the show notes for every episode. I'll probably just credit the guy that did it and then give you the GameShark code, so you don't even have to click a link. You can just look at the thing, put in the GameShark codes, and then have an easier future time with it.
Yep. That's the first big tip. That is a good reason why you might want to emulate this game. You should still buy the game anyway, of course, to support Square. And
it's just $10.
$10 on PSN, so pay $10 and then emulate it.
I paid the $10 getting ready for it back in the day, and then I heard about all of this stuff, so I put it on my RetroPie. So I have it on PS3, my PS3, and I also have it on my RetroPie.
Also, just in case you're not aware, you can play it on disc on PS1, on PS2, PS3. PSN on PS3, and then also it plays on Vita as well, and I think it's got cross-buy. So I'll be playing it. I'll be playing it without the GameShark code, but on my Vita, because that'll be the ideal situation for me. A few more tips for the game. I don't say this to belittle the previous games or anything, but it's like this is the first real-ass JRPG we've actually played. I'm not saying Persona 3 wasn't a real RPG, like it wasn't hard, but it wasn't structured like a normal JRPG, right? It was unique. It's its own special thing. This is a real-ass JRPG, and you are going to need to play it like one. If you don't, you will regret it. You're going to need to pay attention to things. It is kind of hard, if I recall from my 2 times playing it in high school.
Look, it's Rizzo. Say hello to the internet, Rizzo.
Yay! Hi!
Yeah, so like explore. One of the best things about this game, I do think, is its NPC dialogue. The game has a really beautiful. There's a term called world sense, which is some sort of Japanese term that game designers use, and my favorite game critic Tim Rogers turned me onto it as an English term, world sense. He says that world sense is one of the main things that makes a JRPG really, really pop, and it's different than world building. It's just like how much does the writing seem to ring true, and create a sense of place. And Xenogears in every Xeno game has phenomenal world sense. So talking to every NPC, I think, is very important, just if you want to get the full experience of the game. Explore. The reason it has the whole 3D environment, 2D sprites thing is because it has these beautifully crafted rotatable camera 3D environments. The towns are things of wonder, which if you played Xenoblade Chronicles 2, you'll know makes sense. The towns are just beautifully architectured places to explore and enjoy. Battle system. Oh, you might want to download a PDF of the manual, because the battle system has some nuances that I believe are pretty well explained in the manual. So you're going to want to be looking into that stuff.
It's really cool. So it's turn based, so you won't have to worry about jumping to beat a boss battle, Eli.
Yep.
And
yeah, the jumping is only out of battle.
Yeah, but the the turn based itself kind of has like it's not like a combo system like in a Street Fighter, but it's like you can do a heavy, medium, and light attack, and you have like 3 or 4 doodaddies to be able to do it. So you can do like 4 little ones, 2 medium ones, or 1 big one. It's
supposed to. The idea is that the turn-based role-playing game is supposed to have the visual pizzazz of a fighting game or a fighting anime. That's the idea. Is that it looks like a fighting anime. So just it's kind of a weird battle system. So look into it, but I do think it's very good. So if you sink your teeth into it, I think you'll get a lot out of it. Another tip I have though is the game has 2 battle systems. There's the battle system when you're on foot, and then the battle system when you're giant robots. Here's my number 1 tip for the game. Try to not spend all of your money. I'm not saying never buy equipment or anything, but for the first part of the game, if you go to a town and you don't need to spend all of your money and you don't need to buy every single piece of equipment in order to survive, please try to save your money. Because once you get to the point where you can buy equipment for your giant robots, it costs a lot. And giant robots are a lot more influenced by equipment than by stats because they're robots. What does being good at fighting make you better at make your robot stronger? That doesn't make any sense. So buying equipment for your robots is very important. So when you get to the point of the game where you can buy equipment from robots for your robots, you're gonna want to have money to do that.
Okay.
So that's my number 1 tip for early game. It's not like a huge deal or anything, but the first few robot sections are not easy. So do yourself a favor, try to save money if you can. Because you'll a little bit later. The game is often very linear, so a lot of the time you'll get in situations. Other real ass JRPG thing you're gonna want to do: rolling saves. Definitely gotta do rolling saves here. You'll get caught in long sections where you can't go back to the world map for a while, and there's a bunch of cutscenes and battles, and you might get screwed over. When I played this game, I never actually got to a point where I had to load an older save and replay a large section of the game because I was screwed over, but I many times was very worried that would be the case. There were many times where I was like, how is this going to happen? And then eventually it happened. Those are my main tips. Just play it like a real RPG because it is. And unlike Persona 3, even though it was like hard, it was also nice because it's hard to get through Tartarus, but you can try multiple times, as long as you're good about not going on the last day or whatever. This, it's like, if you're in a dungeon, you gotta beat it, and that's just kind of the way it is. If you're worried, if you don't like games being hard, you don't like having to try boss multiple times, then do some grinding on the world map. I don't think I ever had to, but I also remember having to try bosses many times. So if you would rather just save the time now and do some grinding and enjoy the benefits later, if that's your playstyle, definitely do that. And that's basically it. Also, the music's insanely good, but it does the thing where it'll reset the music. So sometimes you might want to just sit there and listen to the music because it's really good.
One small tip that I've found already is in your first town, if you don't find a PDF of the manual, there is a house where the guy will teach you literally everything.
Yep.
You can ask him every question about everything in the game. I think he even talks about the robots, and you don't even know that that's a thing yet. They're not on the cover, so it's just like whatever. But
yeah, I didn't know that giant robots were involved.
It's actually the game's main gimmick, is that it's a mecha anime.
Now less interested. I hate to admit that.
Oh no,
I don't like giant robots.
What?
Magic Knight Rayearth notwithstanding.
Well, this will be Magic Knight Rayearth and Xeno notwithstanding. I believe in it. But there is a guy in there that will teach you everything, but if you're trying to save money, look up a PDF of the manual because he charges you per question but doesn't tell you until you try to leave.
Cool.
I didn't realize. That's hilarious. Is it a substantial sum, though? I mean, if it's not that much,
no,
then
it's like 25 gold
well, that
for me
doesn't
reading
matter.
everything.
You don't need to say that. It's, it's just like once you get to the first time you can buy equipment, it's like, oh, here's a stronger like booster engine for your thing. It's $5,000 or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like this will make the boss way easier if you can afford it. You know.
Yeah.
I think that's it for Xenogears. Whenever you save, it does show you what chapter you're in. I'm probably going to give you more detailed I'm probably going to give detailed instructions for where we're stopping each time anyway. But if you're curious, if you save, it's like, oh, here's the name of your chapter. Which that's the same way that Rogue Galaxy handled it. Yeah, same situation basically.
Yeah, it doesn't number it in Xenogears though, so we can't just be like play till chapter 5. We'll have to be like play till chapter John goes to the mayor or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
But
okay.
I believe that Eli will learn to love this one, and this might be his renaissance for JRPGs, just because how like you said, the world sense. I think it'll click and it'll feel like an anime, and Eli will learn to love it.
It is like a huge, stupid adventure, and you cannot help but be sucked along with it. Final tip. Sorry, this is a very important tip. This game, you know how in a lot of games, if a character has a character portrait and a name, that means they're important? That's not the case in this game. At some point in the game, you're going to feel overwhelmed because there's too many fucking characters. Just don't worry about it, because what'll happen is you'll meet a character and they have a portrait and a name and a backstory and relationships, and it's very important, and you're feeling overwhelmed because there's too many. But then, like, 5 hours later, you'll never see them again. So it's like, don't feel like you have to understand everything that's going on. It's fine. Like, most of the plot points from the first third of the game don't even matter anymore by the time you get to the second third of the game, because the plot has just changed so much by that point. So don't let that deter you. Just be like, whatever, it's that guy, I guess.
And now you have the ability where, like, if like last time, Spiff knew nothing about Sailor Moon, so if he got to a word soup of a referential cutscene, he was just like, all right, I'll remember this, and then I have a question for Wednesday. So if you're the same way, you got me and Spiff to like help drive the car, and you'll have Ken with you while you play it. Everything will be great. But this, like, in addition to this being the first real ass RPG that we're playing, it's like, for all of the like warnings and negative-ish things about it, it's also like the truest like part of like the RPG book club has always been like this story driven, like we will probably talk about one boss fight like type thing, like we'll probably talk about all of them, but it's like the juice here will be playing the game, reading the story, those sorts of things, which like is like easy to get like lost in when the writing is as good as it is in this one. So I'm very hopeful that you'll have 2 asterisks on your no robots rule.
I'm so picky about the things that I like and the games that I play, and you know, I tried to get into Gundam Wing when I was in college because I had a roommate who was like super hardcore Gundam Wing fan. and I watched an episode and went, "This is some boring bullshit."
Yeah.
Have you tried other Gundams? Because Gundam Wing is one of the worst Gundam series.
I tried the original Gundam, and I think it was Z Gundam, the one where they have like all the Neos.
I don't know what to tell you, man. That shit's so good.
I mean, I recall liking bits and pieces of Z Gundam, but
like, truth be told, I'm right there with you, Eli, where I see like someone was like, "Oh, you gotta go play or go watch Kuro Mikuro on Netflix," and I look at it, and the cover is two robots fighting, and I'm just like, eventually, like I know that that's just like instead of going Super Saiyan to punch people, he gets in a robot to punch people, and therefore it's still just about the characters in the end. But it's one of those things where like it is just like a okay, well maybe later type thing. But in the grand history of RPGs, like besides licensed ones about those animes, this is kind of like it. Like this is the one that has it. So it's like unique and refreshing. Like not like just another Gundam knockoff, because there really weren't any. Like there's not really much representation of that sort of thing in this space.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how it didn't keep being a thing. I don't know. It's weird.
But I don't think we have much else that we brought to the table, so we can spend our last 30-ish minutes here with some Q&A.
That sounds good.
Let's move on to that. So our first question comes from our good friend Essie, currently Doggo Lass. At the time she wrote this, she was still Awkward Lass. She says, when are all of your birthdays, for future reference, and also to steal our credit card information, I think.
That's probably it. Knowing her, yeah. Mine is May 28th.
Mine is March 13th.
Mine's very easy to remember. It's 10/10.
Ooh.
Oh.
We're coming up on your birthday
We are coming up on it, yeah.
And, hey, Michael, when's your birthday? I don't think you can hear me. Oh, well, I tried.
It was nice hearing his sensual Latino voice.
When? His birthday is July 2nd. So, now you know.
Nice.
So, the next question comes from our good friend Francisco. Goes by JRPGT on our Discord and Twitter and YouTube. And he says, have you ever gotten a platinum trophy or the equivalent? And what's your story behind it? How long did it take you? And if you haven't, what's the hardest, like, a trophy-ish thing that you've collected / went for?
Question. What is platinum trophy?
So
I am new to PlayStation.
Well, PlayStation, Steam has achievements, Xbox has achievements, but basically a platinum trophy is when you get every single achievement in the game.
Oh.
So
yeah.
It'll give you...
Platinum trophy is you got all the other trophies.
Yeah.
Cool.
It doesn't always 100%ing a game, but sometimes it does.
Yeah.
Depending on the game.
It's the spirit of 100%, at least.
Yeah.
Okay. I know the answer then.
All right. What's your answer?
Undertale.
Nice. There we go. Yeah.
It's literally the only platinum trophy that I've ever gotten, because every achievement is basically related to just playing the damn game.
Yeah, and he had a lot of funny, jokey fun with that too. Because the thing is, so here's the thing: when you make a game for PlayStation, you have to have trophies. It's like required. So a lot of indie developers, including that guy,
Toby Fox.
Yeah, Toby Fox. They're like, well, if they're forcing me to do this, I guess I'll just make it not that hard to get them, or something like that.
Yeah. All of
just
them.
Like all the Telltale games. If you beat the game, you platinum it.
Yeah,
if you play the season pass and you beat all of it, you get 100% of the stuff.
I think that's sort of their subtle way of disagreeing with the concept.
That's fair. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I got a shiny platinum trophy, so I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. I like getting achievements, but I also don't believe in myself. So when I run into one that I'm like, wow, that sounds really hard, I'm usually like, I guess I'll never have it. And I like that. Going back to The Simpsons, Homer's line about, we learned a valuable lesson here. Never try.
So my plat history is, I've definitely gotten a couple. I can't remember them in particular. One, I lived with my best friend Bernard for quite a while, and he's always like, I gotta get dat plat. I gotta get dat plat. And we always say that. We always say dat plat is like our catchphrase. And he's more committed than I am, though. I usually peace out before that because I get distracted by another game. But a lot of games it's not ridiculous to get a plat, you know? It's like just the right, it's just like, I'm stubborn and I like a challenge. So it's like, for a lot of games, it's just the right amount of challenge, you know? It's like, this is hard and I gotta try hard, but it's not impossible. So the only game I can think of right now is Sonic Generations. I didn't play it on PlayStation. I played it on Xbox 360, but I got every achievement. So that's the equivalent of getting a plat. I got 1,000 gamer score or whatever. And first of all, I love that game. It owns. And second of all, if you just play the game regular, you'll get most of the Chivos, and then there's a few that are like real hard and real fun, like beat the first level in under 1 minute, you know? Although one of them was like beat the final boss without getting hit, and in the grand tradition of Sonic games, the final boss is the worst thing you've ever played in your life. It's fucking terrible, and it almost ruins the entire game. So that achievement was really hard to get. It's like, otherwise great game. Final boss is the worst thing ever, and I beat it without getting hit because I like the game so much. Other than that, I can't remember, but I'm sure I've gotten some here and there. I'm working on getting the plat in Metal Gear Solid 5 right now, which isn't a ton of work. Although I haven't played the game in like a week, and I don't know if that's going to change because of life stuff. I don't feel like playing games right now. I'll play Xenogears, but that's probably going to be it for a while. I don't know. Halo 3. Okay, I didn't technically get all the achievements in Halo 3, but that's because I've never I ended up like changing consoles, or like living with a friend and playing on their console, you know? So if you combined all the achievements I've gotten on various profiles, I'm sure I've gotten all of them. Because I know I had all the story achievements, all the campaign achievements at one point, and then some of the multiplayer achievements are just like, get to this rank, play a whole bunch, get a Killtacular, and like, I've fucking done all that shit. So I think if you were to add up all of my real life achievements in that game, it would be 1,000 gamer score, because, you know, I played that game so much. That probably applies to Halo Reach as well. Let's see, any others? There could be a few games where it's just kind of trivial to get the plat on PlayStation, and I would have gotten those too. So that's my answer.
So I used to be the person that would 100% games, and that led me to having 300 games on my I have started but not finished list where I currently am. And because of that, so the story of my single 1,000-point gamer score achievement is also the story of how that died in me. Most of my gaming on the 360 and stuff like that was spent playing Halo, but I played Halo offline, and you don't get to 1,000 if you don't play online. And so even playing with like your friends and stuff, it doesn't count for the online achievement. So I never even came close in any of the Halos. So then I get Assassin's Creed, first one, and it's one of its thing is find all of the flags, and so our feathers or whatever it is in that first one, and so I found all of the flags. I looked at everywhere. I found most of them by myself. Looked up a map to get the last ones, and I got my 1,000 gamer score, and it was great. And I'm like, this is awesome. It took forever, but let me put in Assassin's Creed 2 and start it that way. And they're like, okay, well, instead of just having 100 flags you have to find, there's 100 feathers and 50 these and 1,000 these and 600 those.
What is this,
and
Banjo-Tooie?
Yeah, like pretty fucking much, but like not in a like, because like I will always defend Banjo-Tooie, but Banjo-Tooie is like using collectibles like as a joke. So instead of just like walk over here to do a thing, it's like, oh, collect the thing, and you pick, like, it just adds it to your inventory because it's silly like that. most of the collectibles are just like, oh, health fill-ups and shit like that. But this one was all like, oh, what if we gave you like 800 Mario Odyssey moons, but that wasn't the game. So they're just fucking there. And so I tried for like a second, and I had my map up from the beginning, and I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I'm really curious about like Ezio and his story, and that's what I want to do. I don't want to go and do this anymore. And so I think that's the only one that I've gotten. Even games that like I've loved. Like I loved the crap out of Star Ocean 5, and I had it like min-max and everything, and I look and it's like, oh, deal of 1000 combo or whatever, and I'm like, I don't want, no, just not doing it.
Oh, I just realized I have definitely 100%ed Mario Odyssey.
Yeah, because those have achievements as well, and you get a top hat.
I love how the achievements just are moons. That's so great. Yeah. It's like, no, it's not like get moons and get achievements. Like, no, you get all the moons you can, and then you do achievements to get the rest of them. So if you have all the moons, you've 100% of the game. Actually, that's not true, because you don't need to get every single outfit, but I also got every single outfit, so that's 500% of the game.
Yeah. But, that, I think we did that one pretty good. So, our best son, Matt, says, what game or games are you most looking forward to playing on the podcast? What games do you not really want to play, but you know you should, because eating vegetables is important too? So it's a two-part question. If you like from the games that we've announced, because like we've said stuff, things in the suggestions, just like games you have on the top of your head, etc. Spiffle, you can go first.
The two that Rizzo wants to do both sound amazing. I forget what they are.
They are Odin Sphere and Valkyrie Profile.
Oh yeah, Valkyrie Profile. I'm beyond hype for that one. Odin Sphere too. I mean, Odin Sphere is cool. I've actually played a bit of that one. But that's actually not the games I was thinking of. Anyway, that's something we have. We've got a lot of good stuff lined up in the future. But I'm hyped for Valkyrie Profile. I'm hyped for Legend of Dragoon. I'm a little worried that might be vegetables, but we'll see.
It's not. It holds up more than any PlayStation RPG that I've played recently. My most recent replay and my only play of Legend of Dragoon was 3 years ago, so it's still pretty heavily in my head on that one. I love how earlier I was like, when we play my games and we do Shining Force, like just trying to pretend like Matt isn't going to use 100% of his voting power to play Legend of Dragoon.
Pretend like we're not doing fucking Legend of Dragoon. As far as the vegetables go, I don't know, man. I can enjoy things pretty easily. If something is historically important or important to somebody or has something interesting about it, reason why we're playing it,
my headset accidentally.
Oh no. Anyway, then I'm down for it. You know, then I'm going to enjoy it. Like this podcast is going to make me enjoy things that I wouldn't have otherwise enjoyed, because I'm not just playing it for enjoyment. I'm playing it for discussion and thinking. Right. Yeah. So the whole vegetables thing. No, I'm looking forward to everything.
Yeah, because like if I were a person coming to Sailor Moon, and like you can see this with the approaches of the Square Roots Versus, where they played Sailor Moon like while we were doing it. It was kind of cool that it lined up like that. But they were going at it of just like a give it your best shot for a weekend and give first impressions, and like they didn't fall in love with it in that first impressions. And I feel I would have done the same thing. I would have hit that chapter 2, been like, okay, this game isn't balanced, and it requires you to do a bunch of stupid things like enter a room twice to make the thing go on, things like that. I would have not loved it, but because I ate my vegetables and I got through it, I ended up loving it in the end. And so that might have been my vegetable answer, but because I got through that, I now know, like, even if we run out of good games and we have to play Final Fantasy VII, I'll probably appreciate it and talk about things and end up loving that, getting through that game anyways.
I love our bold statements about Final Fantasy VII.
It's safe. It's the low-hanging fruit in JRPG circles. You can either say that it's great or say that it's bad, and you'll get a 50-50 response rate either way, so it's okay.
It's so fucking good.
See,
it is better than the first 6 Final Fantasies and worse than the next 6 Final Fantasies.
For me, so I like vegetables, so this is more like drinking an IPA, like everybody says those are good, but I hate them. Although beer isn't really good for you. I don't know. I mean, obviously, shut up. I'm really looking forward to Undertale. That
one's a secret. God dang it. Spoilers. We're doing Undertale.
Is it really a secret? Because I was under the impression that we had talked about it before.
I don't think we talked about it on the podcast, but
okay,
well, whatever.
Whatever.
Womp, womp.
We're playing
there's a lot of things
Undertale eventually.
I feel like I was gonna say. You go. Sorry. The latency.
I ruined the spoilers. That's who I am. I'm the spoiler guy. Go on.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think there's a lot of things that are secrets if someone is in the future listening to this podcast, but not secrets if they're on our Discord.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
I know next to nothing about any other game, and I'm at a point in my life where I'm like, life is hard. I want games to be easy. So pretty much anything that sounds like it's going to be challenging is going to make me go,
sorry, that's every game I like.
So, I mean, I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of veggies in my future. It's a good thing I enjoy Brussels sprouts. Don't give me asparagus, please.
Yeah, and I hope
that's
that
a fucking hot take. Did someone just diss asparagus?
I did.
Asparagus is nasty. It's eating grass.
I will at you so hard.
But I hope that while you eat these vegetables, at the very least, you end up with more plates of your Persona vegetables, where off podcasts you were just like, this is bullshit, this is so hard, like I have to get gameshark codes, this is nuts. But then when we were like the final takes, you were just like, yeah, this game was amazing. I wish I had more time to have grinded and earned the ending than GameShark coding it, but you loved it at the end of it. Yeah. And less of them are Rogue Galaxy, where you're like, if I wasn't with Tuxedo Ken, I would have quit the fucking podcast.
I did just realize one thing nice about Xenogears, actually. You can always just fucking GameShark yourself some better stats, and unlike Persona, which has its whole you have to manage your time or you're not going to see the whole story thing, this is a totally linear game, and there's missables, both story missables and item missables, but it's not like some super meta time management situation. So, if you just GameShark yourself powered up, then, bam, problem solved. So
I have no qualms about feeding myself through a game if we're just doing it about the story, honestly. Yeah. So...
after Persona 3, when I got Persona 5, I didn't put it on. They have a baby's first Persona level. I didn't put it there, but I put it on easy, which is one up from that one, because I was like, look, I enjoy it and all of these things, but I don't want easy was hard already, and I don't want to do that. I want to be able to enjoy this game as a narrative experience, which is the whole point of this podcast. So if at any point you have the opportunity to cheat
do it.
The only cheats would be ones when I played Final Fantasy 7, I was getting burnt out on it, so I did the cheat where you don't have to do the last dungeon. It saves 3 hours on the
oh god
on the speedrun, because it's this super long involved dungeon, but it cuts you to the cutscene at the end, which is the important part. So I just did that. I don't want to do that, but I would, if for the podcast, I would refrain from doing stuff like that, so I can experience it, but I don't it's fine, just burn yourself through it.
Cool. I'm good with that.
Dread.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Oh,
I was about to move on.
No, go for it.
Okay. So another one from Francesco is any embarrassing screen names from when you were younger.
Oh, did you have to pick that one? No.
I'll go first to delay your embarrassment.
I already did my embarrassing thing today.
I've mostly, as I talked about before we started recording, I've been spiffiness / spiff / eventually coalesced on spiffle pretty much my whole online life. But on various other like IMs and stuff, I went by other things. So I was it's funny that JRPGT mentioned Chrono Crossing Guard, because I also, as a child, was very impacted personally by Chrono Cross. So I used Radical Dreamer as my screen name on MSN chat for a long time.
Where on the doll did Chrono Cross touch you? You're radically affected by Chrono Cross.
I was my dreams were radically affected by Chrono Cross, and that's just a nice phrase too, Radical Dreamer.
Yeah, I love it.
That's basically. One time spiffiness was taken on some website, so I went by, and this is so embarrassing because this was the mid-aughts, so this was what we talked about at the time. The Spiffy Pirate.
Wow.
Because everyone was all like pirates and ninjas, and like the most normie fucking meme imaginable. Like pirates was like a thing. So yeah, I'm still the Spiffy Pirate on YouTube. That's my YouTube name. Or maybe not anymore. I don't know. I think that's it for me.
Well, Matt, aka the Dread Pirate Velvet, just cried in the Discord.
Okay, but that's a good name though. That's not just like pirates, lol.
Yeah. So to give Eli some more breathing room, I will go next. So my AIM screen name was SSJ3 Sam because I wanted to be
That's awesome.
I wanted to be Super Saiyan Sam, but I wanted to be Super Saiyan 3. But but then I was a weeb, so I wasn't just Super Saiyan. I was Super Saiyajin 3
Hilarious.
Sam, but that was taken, so I was SSJ3 Sam 4. That was like just a perfect idea of me as a middle schooler. You can see SSJ3 Sam 4.
Yep, that's
all
very
right there.
Very your brand. Oh, I just realized. Go on.
Prior to that one, because this is the most embarrassing thing of all time. Like, everyone be sitting. I know that we are, because who would stand up for 2 hours for a podcast? But, Star Wars Episode 2 comes out, and I really enjoyed it because I was a kid. And I misheard Darth Tyrannus, and I heard Darth Trianus. So I made my Yahoo, because it wasn't even a screen name for anything, but my Yahoo, what I tried to do Trianus at yahoo.com, and it was taken. However, I had spelled it, so I thought that I was cute and I thought that I was clever, and I was like, I will make a pun instead. So I did tree, as in the tree outside, underscore and underscore us at yahoo.com.
Okay, I thought it was going to be worse.
Yeah, I thought it could be tree anus. That's what I was.
I thought the same thing.
Oh, that would have been horrible, but no. I was so proud of it, because I was like, look at this hidden but like cute fucking Star Wars thing. I'm so cool in referencing Star Wars in my email, and no, I wasn't.
No one got it because it wasn't actually a fucking Star Wars reference.
It was so bad.
That's really funny.
Yeah. What about you, Eli? You can.
All right. Mine came from a Sailor Moon fanfic.
Nice.
All right.
It was Gorgeous Uranus.
That's fine.
That's not bad.
I like it's embarrassing because, one, I am not attractive. I have never been attractive.
That is a lie. You are a
everyone's
beautiful
attractive.
Man.
Thank you.
Except for Republicans.
If there's one thing you need to learn from Steven Universe, is that every single character that's ever showed up on screen, some other character has a giant crush on them and thinks they're the most beautiful person in the world.
That's true. I don't know. I'm really embarrassed about it. Partly because it came from a fanfic. So
I love it.
Great.
Only you know it comes from a fanfic because both gorgeous and Uranus are normal words.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You could just leave that part off when you talk about it and just be like, yeah, I was so vapid and thought that I was the most beautiful person in the world, so my name was gorgeous Uranus.
It was more that I thought Haruka was the best ever.
I mean, yeah.
You're not wrong.
There's no complaints here.
Yeah. As I recall, my girlfriend at the time was Starlight Michi.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's 10 billion times worse.
Yeah, we were super into Uranus and Neptune. We even did recordings of ourselves singing the Uranus and Neptune Sailor Moon musical songs together as Uranus and Neptune.
You've been holding out on us?
I am not sharing that.
No, I know. It's
I'm not sharing anything that includes my girl voice. Trust me.
I get it. Don't worry.
Yeah. No, it's cool. But yeah, it's embarrassing to me personally.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
I do want to mention one more thing. JRPGT said embarrassing experience when you were younger. Follow me on twitter.com @Spiffle, and you'll see the embarrassing screen names I use every day of the week for my entire life. I'm always changing it, and it's always the dumbest shit ever, and I'm very proud of it. Right now, I'm devotee of Big Boss Erotica, which is a reference to Metal Gear, but it's also a really deep cut leftist Twitter politics reference. So it was really funny joke, like the day that thing that I'm referencing happened, and so everyone's probably forgotten the event that I'm referring to by this point because it's been like a month. But I'm going to keep it until I think of something else that's even stupider.
Love it.
Awesome.
So we'll do two more. But basically, because Matt asked the question, what games do you love that are universally considered bad? And me and Spiffle, and for the most part Eli, are under the impression that there are no bad games. Yeah, so
that's not true. But there aren't many.
there aren't many. But that question could be an entire subcast, probably.
That's true.
Yeah.
But so Essie asks, pineapple on pizza, yes or no? I'll go ahead and start and give the universally assured correct answer that yes, pineapple belongs on pizza.
Absolutely.
Oh my god.
Eli.
You guys are why does everybody hate me?
Not on any kind of pizza, on Hawaiian pizza with Canadian bacon.
No. That pizza is an abomination and needs to be destroyed.
It's good as hell.
It wasn't even made by a Hawaiian person.
Yeah, it
was created by a frickin' Canadian.
Appropriation notwithstanding, it's delicious.
I don't like pineapple. I don't like pineapple.
Oh, wait, hold on. If you don't like pineapple, period, then that... I'm not saying it makes your opinion invalid, but I'm saying that the question is generally aimed at people who do like pineapple, but the core is just, does it belong on pizza? If you don't like it, period, I feel like that's different. So, yeah, okay. Yeah.
And yet people still yell at me for that.
Yeah, well, it's different, though.
I take it back. If you don't like pineapple, then it's fine. Yeah. But the reason pineapple goes on pizza is because it's a sweet and tangy in which you don't have that in the pizza conundrum. So it gives you an interfusion of flavors, and therefore
I'm learning to appreciate that more as I grow older, but I'm still very picky.
Yeah, that'd be like if you said that'd be like if you were like pepperoni doesn't belong on pizza because I'm vegetarian. You know?
Oh, yeah. I used to be 100% fruit and meat don't go together. I like orange chicken. I had like at this Cajun place near us. They had like a duck with a raspberry sauce that I enjoyed. Mm-hmm. I used to think, fruit and cheese. No, not at all. I like apples and cheese. I like grapes and cheese. So, my sense of taste has broadened, certainly. But I'm still very, very picky when it comes to that sort of thing. And yeah, I just don't fucking like pineapple. I was telling Spiff earlier, I was telling Sam. Mm-hmm. Someone. It's been 2 hours. I don't remember who anyone is. That there's a drink that I like at Cheddar's. It's an alcoholic drink and it incorporates pineapple juice, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. If there's fruity beverages that have pineapple juice in them, among other juices, that's okay. But it's something about the taste and the texture of pineapples that just I don't like it. I don't want it in my mouth.
I don't understand, but okay.
Yeah. It is a valid opinion, and not like a pineapples. Pineapples are amazing, but for some reason, when you put it with the other amazing thing of a Canadian bacon pizza, somehow that's bad. I don't get it.
No, I don't get it either.
I also don't really like Canadian bacon all that much.
It's not that great.
It's just ham.
I mean, that's fine. That's a correct take.
So our final question of the day comes again from Francisco, because I cut Matt's second question out. It now looks like Francisco's done everything. But he asks, strength, intelligence, health, and dexterity, and speed. You have 15 points, 5 stats. What's your stat spread?
I'm dumping everything into int and strength.
This is interesting. Yeah, so for me, I'm not trying to, like, toot my own horn like I'm... Wait, is there a maximum for these?
You have 15 points.
But is there a maximum
what's your stat spread?
How much you can dump into one?
He does not stipulate, so you can just be like, I don't want to be able to text on the T9 phone, so 0 dexterity and everything in intelligence.
So let's put it this way. I mean, I'm not like trying to say I'm an ultra genius, but this is more self-loathing. Like my intellect is the only thing I have going for me. So a whole lot of it in intelligence. Speed is the lowest, because I am both slow in physically and slow spiritually and emotionally. It's a problem for me, actually. I am it takes me a long time to make decisions, stuff like that. So yeah, I'm a slow mover. So speed, like 0. Intelligence, I don't know, a fucking bunch, like 9, or 8. Health, actually, I'm a generally quite healthy person. Dexterity, medium, and strength, medium.
Okay. What about you, Eli?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think that I'm intelligent, but I've got that whole imposter syndrome going for me.
Well, the imposter syndrome feat is only opened up at rank 10 intelligence, so
that's probably. Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess I have 10.
To like speak truly on that, and this is something that I talked with my therapist about. Plug for therapy. You probably can afford it.
I'm going to therapy for the first time later today.
Everybody should fucking go to therapy. It's amazing.
Yes. So we were talking about I was talking about Roscoe and James, actually, but there's a thing that happens where your taste gets farther ahead than your ability does, and that's the part where every artist has to then like work through it because it sucks, and then your ability will finally catch up with your taste, and that's the hardest part of being an artist. But that gap is the imposter syndrome, so you have to have that taste to even get there, to notice the imposter syndrome thing. So the fact that you're like, oh, I feel that I'm a good artist, but I don't feel like I'm as good of artist as everyone around me, means that you can recognize all the good art around you, and that automatically puts you at a higher level.
Yeah,
there.
If you were a worse artist, you wouldn't know you suck shit.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you suck shit. I don't even think I've seen your art, but yeah, the better you get, the more you're like, oh, I suck shit, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I'm at that point where it's hard for me to pick up the tablet pen because I can't. I can't imagine myself doing good art.
Why I brought it up with Brandy was because she was like, oh, well, why, like, what changed to make you not want to do it anymore? I was like, well, because I hit that imposter syndrome gap 12 times over the 12 years that I did it. I was like, oh, I'm not a good enough artist. Now I'm not a good enough writer. Now I'm not a good enough audio drama maker. Now I'm not a good enough novelist, whatever it was. I was like, I kept hitting that and didn't want to do it anymore. So right there with you, because I gave up on Roscoe and James to be able to allow myself room to write something else, and I haven't ever turned on a computer to write since then. So right there with you, buddy.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess I'm willing to say that my intelligence stat is pretty high. I feel bad saying that though. Like, yeah. I don't feel like I should. So
here's my hot take. If you think your intelligence stat should be high, it's not as high as you say it is.
Yeah, that's the Dunning-Kruger effect. Yep. That's the opposite of imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Anyone who's ever been onto something awful has seen that effect.
Yeah. people who are less intelligent have the tendency to overestimate their abilities. So I would say that my intelligence, strength, and health are pretty high. I'm a fat guy, so speed is down there, and I am clumsy as shit, so dexterity is fucking 0.
Yeah. So I probably have like 0 points in strength, but I have a feat that gets me a random bonus to strength in stupid situations where you don't even realize it. Like you go to pull on a door that you think isn't that heavy, and you like rip it off its hinges type thing. That happens to me randomly all the time.
I think
where
that
I'm like,
just means low dex, not being able to control your strength.
Maybe.
Sam, I believe in you. I think you're strong in the real way.
Oh, thank you. Don't make me sing. We're late on time. We don't have time for a Steven Universe cast.
Damn it.
But so then both because I have the imposter syndrome evidence and because I'm an egotistical asshole, all 15 points of mine are in intelligence. But just kidding. But I do feel my brain is like my prized possession, and I like being able to like think and do all of those things. I definitely have drawbacks where my that goes off the rails into like my anxiety, because like speaking just about this podcast, I lean over to Rizzo at work and I'm like, what if we made a podcast where it was like a book club but for RPGs? And he's like, oh, that's a good idea. I look back to my computer, and an hour later I've planned out the entire first 3 years of the podcast and like sent out feelers to both Eli and Spiffle already, and like all of these things just like built this whole thing because like my brain just it gets on the tracks and it goes, and it doesn't even care how many important things are waiting at the stops to get on. It just is zooming forward to do it. So it definitely is not a I'm better than everyone bonus to my intelligence. I would love just some modifiers there, but my health is really low because no matter how many times I get reminded by Stay Hydrated bot, I laugh and then don't go get any water. And then summer has helped me eat more healthy lately, but I still am just like, oh, I need to like grab one of my raspberry infused waters, but oh look, there's a Mountain Dew instead. So yeah, health is pretty darn low for me. My dexterity I feel is high enough to play the bass and type at 70 words per minute, but low enough to be building a perler bead, and then for some reason I just shake enough to bump it with my hand and fuck up the entire thing.
Everything goes fucking everywhere. God, these things are impossible.
Like I built the first one I did was a Greymon, the little in battle dot sprite that they have. And so I built it, and I go to show it to Summer, and my hand shakes so violently that I just shoot all of the beads over the room. And I'm like, never mind.
Ave Maria plays while they fly everywhere in slow motion.
I didn't even build it back. My first one that I made, ironed together, was an XVmon, because I was just like, no, Greymon's dead. Like I can't do this anymore.
I've given up on this particular one. Yeah,
but
I've been there.
My speed is physically 0 and speaking like 1,000 because I speak so fast and I listen really fast, and like all of the podcasts that I listen on like 10 times speed. Not 10 times, it's like 1.35 speed, but whatever. I listen to them fast. When I edit the podcast, I edit fast. Like everything I do fast, gotta go fast. But I then get into my human state, and I'm just like, ooh, slow and steady wins the race, guys. But yeah, that about does it. I'm really excited to start Xenogears next week. I ended up not getting to go on my trip, so I will just be able to dive into it instead of trying to squeeze it in. And I'm excited to talk with you guys about it. We'll see if Rizzo is going to be back at the beginning for that one. Just as an aside, he's been on a pretty deep sabbatical, crashing over at my place. So logistically, recording is weird, and then also like the impetus to recording is weird. But he's still around. He's still an official fourth host. So hopefully he'll be back soon because he loves you guys.
Yeah, I hope so too. I will not be here next week because my parents are coming into town.
Oh yeah, that's right.
For the first time in the almost 10 years that I've lived here, they're going to visit me.
And I'm so excited for you.
Really excited.
Thank you. I'm excited too.
Because I've been in the at least central Texas part of town for almost, it'll be 10 years in May, and my parents came for Thanksgiving that first year, and here we are. Yeah. So I know that feel. So I am very excited for you.
Yeah. So I fucking need a vacation.
For sure.
But yeah, I guess that about does it for the week. If you like what you hear and you want to help us cover hosting costs and game costs, you can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/rpgbookclub. If you want to talk to us, we have a Twitter at rpgbookclub, an email at rpgbookclub@gmail.com, and our favorite, our Discord, which doesn't have a catchy URL, so you can find a link in the description. Join everyone else next week when we start the playthrough of Xenoblade Saga Gears. And
that's right.
It's a
and as a reminder, stop playing as soon as you get to the world map after exiting the forest dungeon.
Okay. World map after forest dungeon.
That's
Got
when
it.
You stop.
Mm-hmm.
I will not remember that.
We'll finish and then I'll make sure we update you what the second stopping point is, since you'll have to do 2 next week. But
yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to have a lot of catching up to do. For RPG Book Club, I've been Elias, Sailor Eli, Warren.
I have been Sam Allman.
And I'm Michael Spiffle-Webbin.
Bye.
So have a great day, folks.
Bye, everybody.